I tried living with 100 items. Japanese minimalism changed everything. What if we told you that owning less could actually make you happier? That living with just 100 items could transform your entire life? We decided to test this ancient Japanese philosophy for 30 days. And what happened next completely shocked us. The challenge begins. Most of us own thousands of items without even realizing it. Think about it. How many things are sitting in your closet right now that you haven't touched in months? We were just like everyone else, drowning in stuff we thought we needed. Our homes were filled with gadgets, clothes, books, and random things we'd collected over the years. That's when we stumbled across something called Japanese minimalism. It's not just about having less stuff, it's a whole way of thinking about life. The Japanese have this beautiful concept where they focus on what truly brings joy and purpose. Instead of filling their spaces with countless items, they carefully choose only what adds real value to their daily lives. We were curious, maybe a little skeptical. Could living with just 100 items really change everything? There was only one way to find out. We decided to take on this challenge and document every single day of the journey. What exactly is Japanese minimalism? Before we dive into our experience, let's talk about what Japanese minimalism actually means. It's way more than just having a clean house or throwing away old clothes. This philosophy goes back hundreds of years in Japanese culture, where they believe that simplicity leads to clarity of mind. The core idea is pretty straightforward. When you remove the excess from your life, you can focus on what really matters. Japanese minimalists don't just randomly get rid of stuff. They ask themselves important questions about each item they own. Does this bring me joy? Do I actually use this regularly? Does this item serve a real purpose in my life? What makes Japanese minimalism different from other approaches is the emotional connection to your belongings. It's not about having an empty white room or depriving yourself of nice things. Instead, it's about surrounding yourself only with items that you genuinely love and use. Every single thing in your space should have a reason for being there. The Japanese also focus heavily on quality over quantity. They'd rather own one beautiful, well-made item that will last for years than 10 cheap things that break after a few months. This mindset shift completely changes how you think about shopping and consuming. The 100-item rule. How we counted everything. Now comes the tricky part. What exactly counts as one item? We had to create some ground rules because this can get confusing fast. We decided that clothing items like socks and underwear would count individually, but we grouped similar small items together when it made sense. For example, all our cooking utensils counted as one category, and our basic toiletries like toothbrush, toothpaste, and shampoo were grouped together as essential hygiene items. We also didn't count consumables like food or cleaning supplies, since those get used up regularly. The counting process was actually eye-opening on its own. We started by going through every room and making a list of everything we owned. The number was shocking. We had over 2,000 items in our home. From multiple kitchen gadgets we never used to clothes with tags still attached, we realized how much unnecessary stuff had crept into our lives. Choosing which 100 items to keep was harder than we expected. We had to really think about our daily routines and what we actually needed versus what we just wanted to have around. Some decisions were easy. We obviously needed basic clothes, toiletries, and work essentials. But other choices required serious consideration about our lifestyle and priorities. Week 1. The shock of empty spaces. The first week was honestly pretty overwhelming. Our apartment looked completely different with so much empty space. We kept reaching for things that weren't there anymore, like that backup phone charger or the extra blanket we used to keep on the couch. These thoughts kept popping up, especially during the first few days. But something interesting started happening around day 4. The empty spaces began to feel peaceful instead of scary. We could actually see our furniture and appreciate the design of our home. Cleaning became incredibly fast since there wasn't much to tidy up around. We spent way less time looking for things because everything had its proper place. The mental shift was gradual but noticeable. Without visual clutter everywhere, our minds felt clearer too. We weren't constantly distracted by piles of stuff or reminded of tasks we needed to do. The simple act of removing excess items created a sense of calm we hadn't expected. Week 2. Discovering what we actually need. By the second week, we started understanding the difference between wanting something and actually needing it. This became especially clear when we were tempted to buy new things. We'd see something interesting in a store and immediately ask ourselves, where would this fit into our 100 items? Is it worth replacing something else we already own? This question completely changed our relationship with shopping. Instead of impulse buying, we became much more thoughtful about purchases. We realized that most of the things we used to buy were just filling emotional needs rather than practical ones. Shopping had become entertainment rather than necessity. Our daily routines became smoother and more intentional. Getting dressed was faster because we only had clothes we actually liked and wore regularly. Cooking was easier because we only kept the kitchen tools we used frequently. Even our work became more focused because our workspace was clean and organized. We also noticed that we appreciated our remaining items much more. That one really comfortable sweater became special because it was one of our chosen pieces. The books we kept were ones we truly valued and referenced often. Everything in our space had earned its place there. We also started noticing how much money we weren't spending. Without the constant urge to buy new things, our monthly expenses dropped significantly. This financial freedom felt just as liberating as the physical decluttering. We could invest in experiences and quality items rather than accumulating more stuff. Week 4. The complete transformation. By the final week, living with 100 items felt completely natural. We no longer missed the things we'd given away or donated. In fact, we sometimes forgot we'd ever owned certain items in the first place. This really drove home how much unnecessary stuff we'd been holding onto. The most surprising change was in our creativity and productivity. With fewer distractions and a cleaner environment, we found ourselves coming up with new ideas and finishing projects more easily. Our minds weren't constantly processing visual clutter, so we had more mental energy for important tasks. We developed a deeper appreciation for quality and craftsmanship. When you only own a few items, you want them to be really good ones. We started researching purchases more carefully and choosing things that would last longer and serve us better. This shift toward quality over quantity felt really satisfying. The sense of freedom was incredible. We could pack for a trip quickly because we didn't have endless clothing options to sort through. Moving became much easier to imagine because we didn't have boxes and boxes of possessions to transport. Our lifestyle became more flexible and adaptable. The science behind this works. Research from Princeton University shows that physical clutter in our surroundings creates cognitive overload and reduces our ability to focus. When our brains are constantly processing visual information from countless objects, we have less mental resources for important tasks and decision-making. Studies have also found that people living in cluttered environments have higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. Clean, organized spaces actually help regulate our nervous system and promote feelings of calm and control. This explains why our stress levels dropped so dramatically during the challenge. Psychologists have discovered that having too many choices can lead to decision fatigue and decreased satisfaction with our choices. By limiting our possessions to just the essentials, we eliminated thousands of daily micro-decisions about what to wear, use, or focus on. This mental energy could then be directed toward more meaningful activities. What we learned and how our lives changed forever. This 30-day experiment taught us that happiness doesn't come from having more things, it comes from being intentional about what we choose to keep in our lives. Japanese minimalism isn't about deprivation or living like a monk. It's about creating space for what truly matters to you. We discovered that most of our possessions were just taking up physical and mental space without adding any real value. The items we chose to keep became more meaningful and useful because we'd consciously decided they deserved a place in our lives. The biggest change was in our mindset about consumption and success.
We used to measure progress by how much we could accumulate and afford. Now, we measure it by how intentional and purposeful our choices are. Quality relationships, meaningful experiences, and personal growth became our new priorities. Even after the official challenge ended, we've maintained this lifestyle because the benefits were too good to give up. We still live with roughly 100 items, and our lives feel richer and more fulfilling than ever before. Japanese minimalism didn't just change our homes, it changed our entire approach to living.